Hello and welcome to Garbage Studio. Today in this video we are going to look at how to find the inverse of a matrix. You can all agree with me that finding the inverse of a matrix by calculation is time consuming and hectic, as it requires you to first find the determinants of that matrix, which becomes time consuming as the order of the matrix is high, and also find the cofactors and then find the transpose of the cofactors, which is called the adjoint. After all that, you multiply the inverse of the determinant by each element in the adjoint, which takes a lot of time. So today in this video we are going to look at a simple, fast way of finding the inverse of a matrix, that is using the scientific calculator. Okay, so without wasting much time, let's start. Okay, so in finding the inverse of a matrix using the scientific calculator, you first have to switch the calculator to the matrix mode. That is by clicking on the mode +6. Now we are going to, in this example, I'm going to use the variable mat A. You can choose to use variable mat B, variable mat C. In this video, we are going to try using all the variables. So let's start with the variable mat A, which is 1. We're going to use the matrix of order 3 by 3, which from the calculator corresponds to 1. So we are going to select 1. Now I'm going to input any random values. So after inputting your values, you click on AC, which stores the values, not delete them. Okay, so after that you click on Shift +4. Now, because I inputted my values to variable mat A, I'm going to call that variable. From the calculator, that variable corresponds to 3. Assuming you use variable mat B, it corresponds to 4. And assuming variable mat C was used, that also corresponds to 5. So since I use variable mat A, I'm going to click on 3 to call that variable. So 3. Now, in finding the inverse of the matrix, you see the button right here, which shows that the inverse of the variable x. So since this is a variable, we are going to call on that function, which shows mat A inverse. So after doing that, you just click on equal to, which is going to give you the inverse of the value I inputted earlier on. If you want to verify this, you can get the values, solve it, use the normal calculation, and then compare it with the answers given by the calculator to see if it is correct. So these are the values of the inverse, or the inverse values. Okay, so AC. Now we can only find the inverse of a square matrix. If you try finding the inverse, in fact, we can only find the inverse of a square matrix. We cannot find the inverse of any other matrix that is not a square matrix. When I say square matrix, I mean matrices in which their rows and columns are the same: 2 by 2, 3 by 3, 4 by 4, 5 by 5, and so on. So in the earlier on example, I used a 3 by 3 matrix, as in I found the inverse of a 3 by 3 matrix. So we are going to find the inverse of a matrix that is not a square matrix and see what we get. So with Shift +4, you don't have to go to mode +6, but you should, the right way is to go to Shift +4 DIM. That is, we are inputting new values, so we are going to use DIM. Now I used the variable mat A in the first example, so this example I'm going to use the variable mat B, which corresponds to 2. And in the first example, the order was 3 by 3. This example, we are going to use 3 by 2, which is not a square matrix. So that corresponds to 2. Now I'm going to input any random values. Okay, so after that you click on AC. With the same procedure, go to Shift plus 4, call on the variable, in this case variable mat B, so we are going to call on that variable by pressing 4. Now click on the inverse button to call on the inverse function, and then we click on equal to, see what happens. Dimensional error. So in the matrix mode, whenever you get a dimensional error, it means the variable you are using is either empty or what you are trying to find is impossible to find, which is wrong. So this dimensional error tells us that we cannot find the inverse of that matrix. Okay, so we are going to perform another example, which is going to be, we are going to use a matrix which is a square matrix, that's 2 by 2, to see if that will also give us an answer, which it will. So with the same procedure, Shift plus 4, Shift plus 4. This time we're going to use variable mat C, because in our previous examples we used mat A, mat B. We're going to use C. You can choose to use the same variable. I'm just changing the variables to make sure that they all provide, to show you that they all provide the same results. It doesn't matter the variable you choose. Okay, so choosing variable mat C, which corresponds to 5. So we are going to, so after that you click on them, that's 1, corresponds to 1. Choose 3, which is variable mat C, and then we assign, and then now we look for 2 by 2 from the calculator. It corresponds to 5, so we are going to choose 5. Input our values. After inputting our values, we click on AC. Now we are going to call on that variable to give it a function. So Shift plus 4, we use variable mat C, which corresponds to 5, so we click on 5 to call that variable, and then we click on the function, the inverse function, which is this button right here. Now when we click on equal to, it's going to give us values, as in we can find the inverse of that matrix because it's a square matrix. Yeah. So AC. Now we're also going to find the inverse of a 1 by 1 matrix, which is also a square matrix. So Shift plus 4, DIM. We are going to use any of the variables. I'm going to use variable mat B, which is 2, to show that you can use any. So 2. So from the screen you can see that we don't have 1 by 1 matrix here, but there's an arrow at the top here which indicates that they are more than the down. So when we click on down, we can see 1 by 1 matrix. So we call on that function, or that's by clicking on 3. 1. AC. Now Shift plus 4, and then we click on 4, which is variable mat B. Call on the inverse function, press equal to. The inverse of that 1 by 1 matrix is 1. Maybe I used 1, so it gives 1. That's it. That is the inverse of a 1 by 1 matrix. So you can use the calculator, scientific calculator, to find the inverse of a 1 by 1 matrix, 2 by 2 matrix, and a 3 by 3 matrix. Thank you for watching this video. Please, if you like it, click on the subscribe button and also the notification bell icon to be notified whenever I release a new video. Also comment in the description below. Thank you.